The news doesn't get much more fake than the Mehdi Hasan show. Listen to how he began his fake news show.
Tonight on the Mehdi Hasan show, a government shutdown averted for now, but the Republican-led House's near disaster illustrates the extreme dysfunction of our political system.
Yeah, it's the Republicans' fault.
Fix it. I'll ask Democratic Congressman Eric Swalwell. Plus,
he's gonna ask criminal Eric Swalwell how to fix the U.S. government.
From President Biden and Donald Trump this week showed us exactly who they are and what's at stake in 2024. And the GOP's baseless impeachment hearing was so bad, their star witness hilariously shut down their case against Joe Biden on day one.
He said baseless impeachment hearing. Fake news. Mehdi Hasan defends the Democrat Party as slavery who steals elections from us. You're fake news, Mehdi.
Government, it doesn't work as it's supposed to. And yes, the GOP is to blame for the last 5 shutdowns, and they would have been to blame if this shutdown had happened too. But the only reason the broken and anti-democratic Republican Party is able to even keep bringing us to the brink of government shutdowns, and this one would have been the worst of all, the Seinfeld shutdown, a shutdown about nothing, based on nothing, for nothing. The only reason they even can do that is because they're able to exploit and leverage.
Impeach Joe Biden! Secure the border! Stop funding the war in Ukraine!
A broken and undemocratic political system. See, there's no both sides when it comes to threats of government shutdowns or debt ceiling hostage taking. That's all on the extremist MAGA GOP.
Ha!
But both sides definitely have to take responsibility for defending and prolonging a broken, dysfunctional, undemocratic political system. Sadly, Democrats, in my view, have not come out forcefully enough for the kind of root and branch reform that American democracy and minority rule has become the norm within American politics, and especially on Capitol Hill. At every point of the legislative process, minorities are able to block, impede, and obstruct. The whole reason we almost shut down the government this weekend is because, as the Washington Post noted, the hard-right holdouts in Speaker McCarthy's gerrymandered conference represented 100% of the opposition to a deal, but just 2% of the population. Just 2%. And
So the liars and the fake news say, but even if so, they didn't represent my district, but they represent me and millions of others like me, Mehdi. You're fake news.
They almost brought the government of the richest country in the history of the world to a shuddering halt. And they could do so again just a few weeks from now. The political status quo, as we saw this weekend, is a joke. And our country, I'm sorry to say, has become a laughingstock in the eyes of much of the rest of the world. During the January 28th...
Let's listen to Mehdi Hasan repeat Chinese state media propaganda on the fake news.
And they could do so again just a few weeks from now. The political status quo, as we saw this weekend, is a joke. And our country, I'm sorry to say, has become a laughingstock in the eyes of much of the rest of the world.
You're a joke, and we become a laughingstock because of Joe Biden and the Democrat Party.
During the January 2018 shutdown, this is what China's jubilant state news agency wrote, according to Reuters. The Western democratic system is hailed by the developed world as near perfect and the most superior political system to run a country. However, what's happening in the United States today will make more people worldwide reflect on the viability and legitimacy of such a chaotic political system. I hate to say it, but they were kind of right. Chaos is no longer a bug.
Mehdi Hasan repeats Chinese state media propaganda on the fake news for a living.
Again and again.
MAGA Republicans will bring chaos. Democrats will save the country again with competence. That's the formula. That's how we paid our bills, looked at the debt ceiling. That's how we kept government open. And something you've never seen before in government.
The headline on the bottom of the screen is still Biden. MAGA GOP will try to thwart next funding deal. Because all Democrats care about is their money.
Look at any democracy is the minority party delivering the majority amount of votes. It doesn't happen. But what you saw was that, again, Speaker Jeffries delivered the votes.
So, and Matt Gaetz is calling him that as well. What can Democrats do, though, to prevent this from happening in the first place? It's all very well saying Democrats swooped in and saved the day. But we shouldn't be doing it like this, right? Nobody would design...
Mehdi Hasan just said Democrats swooped in and saved the day. Fake news.
In a system from scratch that worked like this. So what can Democrats do when they next control all three, when they control the Senate, House, and the White House? We did. We saved the country, as you said. We got a better bill than, what they were voting on a few days ago for 30% cuts to various major departments. And yet the lack of Ukraine funding in the bill has upset a lot of people. Democrat
No more funding Ukraine. End the war in Ukraine.
Mike Quigley of Illinois, your colleague, the only House Democrat to vote against the bill, said it's a victory for Putin and his sympathizers. Is that what Democrats are cheering on and celebrating this weekend?
We're going to get the Ukraine funding, but we had to keep the government open.
Do you hear that? We're going to get the Ukraine funding. They got to cover up all their crimes in Ukraine.
Had to pay the troops, the cops, the border agents, air traffic controllers, hardworking.
You don't pay our border agents. We don't even have border agents anymore.
Federal employees. Benefits that we're not going to go out the door. But with the same leverage that we were able to have the Republicans completely capitulate, we're going to apply that in the next few days to make sure that we get a vote on Ukraine funding. And also, I think...
No more funding Ukraine! End the wars!
And then they're, cowardly walking away from the fight on Ukraine. Why would we ever believe that they would defend Taiwan? And what do you think is going to happen if we walk away from Ukraine? It's a green light for Xi to go right into Taiwan.
What's the evidence we're not walking away? You said we'll get the money for Ukraine. How?
The leverage that we have. We have Senate Republicans and Democrats united in the Senate. We have the votes, to bring up a discharge petition. There's a lot of talk among Republican friends of mine that they would try and go around the speaker to get the Ukraine funding. So that's going to come. It can't come soon enough, but we're not walking away from it.
So all eyes are on the speaker, Kevin McCarthy, and whether or not, or the signer, the speaker.
End the war in Ukraine. Let's watch the fake news. Mehdi Hasan repeat Democrat propaganda.
McCarthy, no, that's it. He created this problem, and he can find his way out.
So if I'm Matt Gaetz listening to this, Eric Swalwell's not going to vote for Kevin McCarthy. AOC said she's not going to vote for Kevin McCarthy. If I go against Kevin McCarthy, he doesn't have Democratic votes to save him.
That's right. And again, whatever deals McCarthy thinks he's striking with Democrats or one-offs that he thinks he has, I would invite him to look at how unified we have been in these votes. And I don't know what leadership is going to do. I know that we're going to talk about it in the next couple of days, but I know what our priorities are. It's working for working people. It's, kind of beating back these insane impeachment inquiries.
So on that, you mentioned priorities, you mentioned impeachment. What if Kevin McCarthy, we know he's a desperate man.
He said insane impeachment inquiries. That is such Democrat propaganda. Joe Biden has been in office for 50 years and he's a criminal. Fake news. You guys are liars and cheats.
Posed by the extremist MAGA folks. Let's have a listen to some of that speech.
Inciting violence against those who risk their lives to keep America safe. Weaponizing against the very soul of who we are as Americans.
Joe Biden has been in office for over 50 years. He is illegitimate and criminal. Prison for Joe Biden.
This MAGA threat is a threat to the brick and mortar
Liar.
of our democratic institutions.
These people won't even secure our borders. You're the biggest threat in America.
Pushing a notion the defeated former president expressed when he was in office and believes applies only to him.
Senile.
And this is a dangerous notion.
Prison for Joe Biden.
This president is above the law, no limits. And although I don't believe...
You're the one who's been in office for 50 years and is above the law. You criminal!
Even the majority of Republicans think that. The silence is deafening.
Prison.
That language. But shouldn't we see more of that?
Yes. Yeah, we can't, stand on virtue and just trust the American people to do the right thing, especially, when you're going up against this right-wing media ecosystem that feeds them lies. We have to fight.
Right-wing media ecosystem?
This fight with, both hands, vigorously. I take a
Democrats control the media, Eric.
Discredit, defend, and deliver approach in every hearing. I discredit Jim Jordan and anything he's, trying to suggest. I defend the administration when they, try and volley false charges. And I pivot to what we would deliver if we were in the majority. But we have every reason to be confident. And I'm confident that we are going to win. Because right now we're in a position in America where democracy just needs to live long enough to live forever. We've seen changes in Georgia, in Arizona, and we won in 18 and 20 and 22
and then they opened the borders.
Elections. And I think this is it. This is, to use the parlance of California, this is
issues of climate chaos, pass the torch. If we're going to solve the issue of student loan debt, pass the torch. If we're going to end gun violence for families who are fearful of sending their kids to school, pass the torch.
Congressman, you were chuckling as we watched that.
They shouldn't let children run for president.
I mean, Joe Biden was 76 years old when you said he should pass the torch. You don't think he should hand it over when he's 80?
He proved me wrong. with what he has done to bring the country together through the jobs and infrastructure bill, through the CHIPS Act, through the gun safety legislation that he's passed, through the Inflation Reduction Act, and just the way he's brought the world together to take on Ukraine. And by the way, he's 80. You know, there's no disputing that. But you know what number is higher than 80? 91. 91 charges over 4 indictments, and that's a lot more concerning.
And Eric planned that one out because Mehdi told him all the questions he was going to ask. Fake news.
To me than the president's age.
That's
criminal prison for Eric Swalwell.
I'm glad you didn't do it.
San Francisco. How's her husband doing, by the way? Anybody know?
The choice is clear. It's not about who's too old or who gave the best performance at a sham TV debate. It's between one candidate who wants to be re-elected, he says, to protect democracy, and another who is busy normalizing and mocking a hammer attack on the 82-year-old opponent, husband of his political...
The hammer attack on Nancy Pelosi's husband was by an illegal alien.
...opponent. Let's bring in my panel to talk about all
gay
this.
lover.
Former Democratic Senator Barbara Boxer of
Fake
California,
news. Yeah.
Ali Mistal, Justice Correspondent for The Nation,
This is her.
and
This
Brian
panel
Butler, political
expert.
analyst and founder of the new Off-Message newsletter on Substack. Thank you all for joining me.
Look at that panel of experts.
When you watch Donald Trump talking about
Fake
dampening
news.
the forest floor, and
They
then
didn't
you
talk
look at
about Donald
polls
Trump
that show
for
him
20
neck and
minutes.
neck with Biden, or
Fake
maybe
news.
in the lead by 10...